Anyways, welcome to another episode of the King of Average podcast. It's your boy BB, and I'm here with Matic.
Hey
Who
guys.
else? Who else am I going to be here with? This is episode 4.
Came a long way.
Yeah, oh my god. It's been like 6 years. Yeah, this is episode 4, and we appreciate you coming back if you're coming back from episode 3. And with that being said, Matic's got something on his mind.
Yeah. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the A word.
Adulterer? Let it out, man. Let
Accountability.
It out.
Accountability. That is something that will piss off a lot of people when you start noticing the lack of. You know what I'm saying? When you start noticing other people, them blaming other people. Lack of accountability. It could be a family member, like, I don't know, a brother.
So I was trying to figure out how to get out that passion.
No, dude, don't even worry about
the passion that you had.
No, passion? No. It's there, brother.
We were recording episode 3. You were just full rage mode. You were like, dude, let's cut this. I'm ready to record a whole new episode.
Bro,
We gotta bring out that passion.
I still got that energy, bro.
You just thought of someone.
Yeah. But nonetheless, accountability is very make or break in a person. And it says a lot. Having the guts to own up to something is tough, especially when you are in the wrong, whether it be in an office setting, professional setting. You messed up. You maybe skipped out on a deadline that you completely forgot about, or you promised someone something, but you just could not deliver it because of, negligence, just forgetting or whatever thing happened in this world. But taking accountability and be like, yo, I messed up. But then also just being accountable, like, hey, I rely on you. Can I trust you? Can I trust you to get this job done? And that's important, to have trust. And I know I'm kind of throwing out a couple other things, but I feel like this all ties into accountability, because when a person's not accountable, you can't trust them. How are you willing to allow them to have any sort of responsibility, or you place any sort of responsibility in their life? In your life, if you can't trust them, if you know that they won't be able to do a certain task that you request from them,
or maybe not even something that you request from them. It could quite simply just be their job, something that like is expected of them. But I was gonna stop you for a second. Not necessarily stop you, but I wanted to highlight that's kind of deep. It's kind of deep. I definitely see how there could be a connection between like someone who isn't accountable and you, in a sense, throwing away all trust in that person. But at first, I was thinking maybe that's a little dramatic.
Yeah. Well, the bar is pretty low.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's a bit dramatic. Like for you to say, like, someone can't be held accountable for, let's say, for example, their job, right? You can't trust them to get something done. It's like, oh, you can't trust that person, period. To be honest, it is a bit dramatic,
when
but
you say it like
to an extent, you're not wrong. Because take into consideration the example of like you work with someone at your job, whatever the case is. More often than not, you find yourself carrying the duties of that coworker. You're hiding the negative things that coworker's doing, or the lack of what they're doing. Right? They're not being held accountable they're not being accountable for what their duty is. But you hide it away from the managers. You're like, you know what? Let me turn a cold shoulder. Let me turn a blind eye. I'm not gonna get this person in trouble. Later on, let's say for example, you're with your friends or with your family or whatever. You see that person at the mall, at the grocery store, whatever. Your initial judgment on that person is going to be based off of your experience in the workplace. And so, yes, you will revisit that conversation. You can even imagine when your homie's going, oh, like, that's your coworker, that's cool, how is he? Your initial judgment, you're going to be like, in your mind, you might be harsh, whatever, however you project things. But in a sense, you might be like, that person doesn't do anything, I wouldn't trust them with anything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So 100%, there's a huge connection.
Yeah. It's like
100%.
It automatically goes there. And whether it's, I thought about school projects as well. Right? When you're in a group, which I always hated, but
really,
I mean, as social as I am, I'm just more like you. We all got a task. We all agreed upon our tasks and our duties, and we all, in a way, we all need to rely on each other to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when 3 out of the 4 people are actually doing their stuff, but then there's always that one person
Yeah.
that is naive to just the world. They're just living their own life. They're not replying back to group messages. They're not being responsible at all. Now that just puts additional stress on you. And I'm that guy that like once I have my mind on something and we're all agreed up, like it's all agreed that all the duties are done or all the duties are set, I'm gonna hold you accountable. I'm that guy. Be like, hey, look, we discussed this. You're supposed to do this. You didn't do this.
Quit acting brand new.
Why? Could be uncomfortable. Could be, lead on to some sort of disagreements or arguments. But in this life, I feel like you do need to be disagreeable at times.
Mm-hmm.
As like nice as we are, for the most part, as caring and as understanding we can be, sometimes being too understanding could bite us, right? Like maybe, I mean, you're nodding your head, but we can all think about moments in our lives where we were too understanding. We were too, I wouldn't say caring, because obviously we need to be caring in this life. But we were too understanding where we start making up excuses.
You let people walk over you, basically.
Indirectly, that ends up biting you in the butt.
The school project is actually a perfect example. Going back to that first point that I was touching on, because imagine later in the semester, and you're supposed to now choose a group rather than be placed in a group. You're gonna do everything in your power to make sure that one person
does not exist.
Is not in your group project.
Yeah, that person does not exist in my eyes.
Yeah.
I will not even look at or not even acknowledge the human being.
Hey, Malik, how you been? Shut up.
Excuse me, object. We're talking about a man.
Accountability is huge. It's huge.
What are some examples, or maybe an example that comes to mind about a situation, whether you fell short of being accountable, or you've noticed that in someone else?
Oh, dang, bro, put me on the spot. I know you love your examples, that's for sure. Nothing comes to mind, to be honest, right now. I gotta think about it a little bit more. Do you have anything ready?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you?
Oh, dude.
You were that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've done it in school. I've been that guy in a school project.
Where?
Know? Oh, I can think of it. I can think of one.
What's up?
Chemistry class.
Okay.
You know what it was? It was. This was actually kind of funny.
Were you the?
Hence, I'm laughing. No, this was. It's just funny to think about. Like, when you look at the big picture of it, what it was we were having this chemistry class, and it was one of those chemistry classes that it was a night class, so people were already sick and tired of it. It wasn't at Golden West. It was at
OCC?
Coastline.
Oh.
It was at Coastline.
Okay.
So it's like now all of a sudden I'm working at Golden West. I have to drive all the way to Garden Grove to go to a completely different campus, right? To go to this one class and then, either bounce to Long Beach or bounce home. I think I had a night class at Long Beach even after that. Yeah. Even later.
Yikes.
And so this chemistry class was just it was funny as hell because, this is what made it crazy. It was a once a week class.
You know what? Those ones...
don't do that for chemistry.
Especially at night.
You don't do that for chemistry. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever signed up for. But I was like, you know what? I need to get it done. This is all I got. Based on my work schedule and then Long Beach and whatever.
For people who don't know, what was going on in Long Beach?
I was at Cal State Long Beach.
And you still needed...
Yeah. So I was working at Golden West. I was finishing my undergrad at Cal State Long Beach. But because of the General Chemistry B classes that were at Cal State Long Beach, it just didn't fit with my schedule. So I was like, all right, let me look at all my resources. I went back to, I know you could easily get any general chemistry classes at community college, whatever, qualify for the appropriate financial aid for it. And I just signed up for one at Coastline, which is another community college. Sister schools with Golden West where I was working. And we ended up in this class, and it was one of those classes where it's like a bunch of a lot of an older crowd for some reason. you know? And so I ended up getting tight with this group. There was like 4 of us. 2 of them I didn't know. Actually, all 3 of them I didn't know.
I was about to say, dang.
Yeah, right. No, all 3 of them I didn't know, but one of them I didn't really. Yeah, I didn't know him to any personal level. But his brother graduated with me in high school,
Okay.
so there was like
Some
a
sort
connection.
of some sort
You
of
know what I
connection.
mean? There was a connection. You know, and the reason why this story is funny is because this group wasn't just a study group, but it was also the cheating, sharing answers group.
We love those.
And it got to a point where I wasn't cheating hard enough to provide answers to the rest of the group, so they ostracized me so hard.
You're just a freeloader, bro.
I was a freeloader in a cheating study group. Like, this was just like, what? Like, all the answers were online anyways, where they were getting answers from online and sharing it, but it's like they started to hate me because I wasn't doing my cheating research. Like, it would crack me up, but that class stressed me out like crazy. But yeah, that was that. I wasn't I wasn't accountable. I didn't hold my end of the bargain of being a good cheater. You know what I mean?
I can't trust you anymore.
That's the only story I can think of. There's probably a dozen others of like high school projects or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I can't really think, or maybe at work, depending on which job. Some jobs I was a fucking beast at. But depending on which job, there were definitely situations where I was just like, man, you know what? I could definitely be more accountable. Maybe my last job, actually. It wasn't a maybe. It was a for sure. It was a certainty.
Definitely, yeah.
But other than that, what do you got, bro? Lay it down.
You know, it's many times it's really easy to try to point fault at other people, but it's pretty rare. It's kind of tough to look at what you're doing, right? Just look yourself in the mirror and be like, you kind of messed up, right? Instead of using this opportunity to take the easy way out and just focus on other people, let me look at myself.
Which is usually step 1 to growth.
Yeah.
Usually step 1 to growth.
So it was pretty recent now, with my job, right?
Oh Lord.
I wasn't feeling it from the beginning. This wasn't a job I woke up every single day like thinking this is amazing. I was placed on earth just for this one job.
Oh, definitely.
And nonetheless, where I lacked accountability was just doing my day to day. My day to day basically insisted of me going out, knocking on a whole bunch of business doors, try to set up appointments, try to go on and, hopefully sell them a product. And for those who don't know, I was once in selling medical devices, business to business around LA. So that was my main job duty, was just prospecting. Now, I knew exactly I knew what was expected. I wouldn't say exactly, but I knew what was expected for the most part, but I was not doing that. Some days I did when I felt like really pissed off at myself. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I not, doing what I'm doing? But many other days I was just like, dude, screw this. I love the people I work with, freaking awesome people. I still, text a couple people from time to time from work just to catch up. But they held me accountable for certain quotas for work, certain opportunities, a lot of other stuff. And I felt like I let them down. And I'll never forget, because with this one particular company I worked for, every so often they'd host like events, selling events, where the most recent one was in Napa. It was in Napa Valley. First time ever going to Napa Valley. Have you been to Napa?
No, never.
Napa's a vibe.
Is it?
We don't drink, but if we did, it would have been a vibe.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like you just chill, you go to like a farm, you eat and you drink and repeat. That's really it.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, no, it's very like retirement /
right.
You just want to relax. But nonetheless, we all had to come together and book up appointments to bring people from all over LA, from San Diego, from different parts of the country
Oh, to the retreat.
To the retreat, or to this, let's call it a convention.
Oh, wow.
So we can put on a couple meetings and a couple shows to showcase our newest products, and they'll be able to be hands-on with our actual equipment and speak with professionals, with nurses and NPs and stuff like that who are already trained about our products specifically. But nonetheless, everyone brought a person.
Oh.
Except for me.
Oh, that's awkward. Oh, snap.
And it wasn't until then where it really hit me like,
screw this job.
Okay, yeah, right? But then the accountability just hit me really hard. I'm like, these guys relied on me. Even though, I mean, they probably did, but a conversation wasn't really brought up with me, or brought up to me, I should say. But I knew what I should have done. I knew what had to have been done, but I didn't. And that was still a part where I think about from time to time. It's like,
it's almost embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. No, it is
humiliating. It's humiliating. It was. Yeah.
Especially when like everyone else is doing it, but then you're not. Even if you don't want to get single-handed, like I'm saying, like singled out.
Yeah.
You are automatically, because everyone's at the event. All right, nice. Like John Smith is over there. Like, oh, nice, Malik. I just brought up like, oh, you see those two people? Oh, one's from like Oakland, and the other one's from blah blah blah. Those are my customers. Where are your customers at? I'm like, oh shoot. But what happened was,
yeah.
Elaborate scheme of all the BS that happens. It was just BS. But that was like my biggest like wake up call. And I'm not used to not being accountable. I'm usually that kind of person. Like, hey Malik, can you do this at this time at this day? I'm like, yes, done. And you can go to sleep, whatever it is. You can know that Malik got it. Don't even worry about it. So falling short on my duties is not something I enjoy, and I don't typically like slacking at all. Even if I want to use the excuse of me not liking like a job or not, just I felt like that was very foreign, and that was not me. But that was my example of
that's have you ever since the incident, have you ever recovered since, or are you still going through some pain?
I've been
just sip your lemonade, you'll be fine.
I've been drinking a lot of lemonade lately,
yeah,
bro.
Man, just you know what, bro, you gotta wash it down somehow, and then
drown the pain.
Go away from the lemonade a little bit, you know. But that's actually
never told anyone.
Yeah, no, that's I feel like that would be humiliating enough that I would keep to myself. Yeah, for sure.
No, I never really told anyone.
Sure.
That's why even talking about the story, I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
I'm all over the place.
I'm all over the place.
You've never told the story before.
Because when you tell a story millions of times, you're like, all right, cool. Here's part one. Here's part two. It's just it flows, Yeah. But this is just. This is it.
So I mean, that's actually a great story. Tell it again. No, but the humility, the feeling of just being humiliated, it's one that could be very motivating, or it could do the exact opposite. And that's the part that kind of scares me sometimes, is because something humiliating will happen, and I feel like there's just a natural reaction for human beings. Like, once they go through something that's, like, super humiliating, they just want to throw in the towel. They want to give up. They say, hey, it's not for me. There's no opportunity for growth. Once again, it comes back to that fixed mindset. But the humility, not the humility per se, but when you're in a situation where you're heavily humiliated by your own actions, or by the lack of your own actions, you got to figure out how to turn that into motivation. You got to figure out how to turn that into something that's going to spark kind of that fire. And once again, you said, or you were just like, man, I hated myself, right? But sometimes that you telling yourself, I hated myself because of like my lack of an ability to perform. Sometimes that should be the spark that causes you to get up the next day and push twice as hard.
True.
So the humility is important, because some people, they choose ignorance. They choose to act like they were never supposed to be responsible for something. They were never
knew.
They had no.
I hate that. I hate when people tell you that. No, I never knew.
You didn't specify.
Oh,
holy smokes! You didn't specify. It's a good one. No, but some people, they don't go through that humiliating feeling, that embarrassing moment, to where they start up those conversations with themselves. They somehow manage to just be ignorant enough to where they can block it, suppress it, ignore it.
They deflect it. They deflect so much.
the deflecting, the ignoring of what the actual issue is, and then they just wake up the next day completely oblivious as to how big their failure was or how big their mistake was. And then from there, when they go to repeat the same issue, when they go to repeat the same mistake, it doesn't phase them. Once again, it doesn't phase them at all. Now they build a habit of making that mistake and never being held accountable for it.
Yep. And when someone brings it up to them, they're like, no, no one has ever told me.
This is how I've always done it.
Yeah. Why hasn't anyone talked to me about it? And then just deflect. Now, here's the thing about it. If you actually did not know what you were doing was wrong,
different story.
That's a different story.
Different story completely.
Now, if you're completely aware,
mm-hmm.
but you're still deflecting, that's something wrong.
Yeah, you're kind of sick.
Yeah, for real. Like you got some problems. So accountability could be held like very important, very highly in. We talked about business. We talked about school. But let's talk about even in our own personal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability is something that, to me, with age, is make or break. Because if you can't own up to something, if you can't follow through with a certain goal, or even a task, whether it be large or small, but you agreed upon it, then that shows me a lack of confidence. That shows me a lack of self-discipline.
And a lack of maturity as well.
Of course, because everything else is just a joke to you. So I don't personally want to be or surround myself around people like that. People who don't have goals. People who don't have some sort of self-humility,
mm-hmm.
discipline, to the point where why even deal with them? So it's to the point where like I can't trust you anymore. That could be dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Is dramatic for sure. But I think about that as like a way to justify the importance someone is in my life.
Yeah.
At that moment.
Right.
Now I'm not like, hey Dad, you're unaccountable. I don't love you anymore. Yeah, that's it. Cancel my dad, right?
Keep paying rent.
Yeah, exactly. I'll still live at the house, but
you're not accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Thanos snap. But it's make or break, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about, relationships with like, someone saying that they won't be doing something, but then they still do it and they're fully aware of it. You could be talking about a whole bunch of stuff
mm-hmm.
that, we can both bring up a whole bunch of stories about, right? Whether it's family, whether it's, something a little bit more personal or
mm-hmm.
just in life.
Yeah. No, accountability when it comes down to just personal things, you really have to recognize the consequences of your own action.
There will be consequences,
There
period.
will be. It could be either good or bad.
Whether it's it's whether like you allocate those those, consequences yourself, or someone else will make sure that those consequences are handed to you.
Right. It's just it's action reaction.
That's all it is.
It's action reaction. It's a natural cause that's just going to happen. And if you cannot be held accountable for your own actions, then the consequences usually are bad. If you neglect accountability, pretty much like, I guess we can both relate, in our jobs and whatnot. But if you neglect accountability, even in relationships, then it's gonna have a negative reaction. Most people say communication is the biggest killer of relationships, right?
I feel like we all know that.
Everyone knows that, but when you're not holding yourself accountable to putting in the effort that it requires to either communicate something clearly, right, or to make sure the other person is comfortable so that they can communicate something clearly, then the consequence is the consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know how to, once again, just recognize, in a sense, almost before you do something that seems like a bad idea or seems like maybe the outcome is not 100% going to be good, maybe consider what possible negative outcomes could come from it and hold yourself accountable. I find myself, honestly, this happens a lot when I want to like make a joke or something. Super, super random. But last night we're dropping my uncle off all the way in Studio City at my cousin's place because she lives in Studio City. And her and her husband come out with their dog. Mind you, it's midnight. I'm hanging off the side of my dad's car and I see the dog, and the dog is nice and quiet. And I jump from the car towards the dog.
Was the car moving?
No, the car wasn't moving.
Right,
We had
cool.
stopped at that point. We had stopped, and the dog was just chilling, looking around. And I'm like, "Oh, let me play with the dog." Now I didn't realize it was midnight. Well, I didn't remember. It was midnight. And maybe this is a bad joke. So I jump towards the dog, and this dog just puts on a choir, bro. Oh my god. And you can see it in my cousin's face. She got pissed. She was so mad. Like, bro, are you serious?
You hyped the dog up.
And the dog was like, and I was just like, oh man, I messed up.
Hey, what was the dog like?
I think it might have been a pit bull, so it was a little bit more like.
There you go.
Anyways, but yeah, so it's just one of those things where that's kind of a simple example, but you know.
I can't trust you.
No, but that's what I was trying to say is I find myself in these situations where like I try to make a funny joke or I try to throw in a joke at the wrong time. And like I think about it for a second, I'm like, maybe this is a bad time. More often than not, if the joke is like way too savage, I'll hold myself back. But there's been dozens of times in my life where I'll just let the joke play out, or I'll just say the joke that I had on my mind, and the reaction that I get from whoever the audience is, it's just completely opposite of what I was hoping for. Nobody laughs. Everyone was just like, "Yo, that was messed up. That was out of pocket. That was wrong." And I've learned to kind of hold back before I tell certain jokes.
It's funny I'm smiling because I've witnessed those experiences.
Oh yeah, for sure.
From you.
Yeah. I can't even like specifically remember a lot, but there's yeah.
I know a couple.
Once again, it's like humiliating situations.
Yeah.
And you sit there, you go, "Oh man, I messed up," you know.
But you have a great talent, if we want to call it, since we're being optimistic, growth mindset.
Right.
To pick.
You're just full of compliments today.
I'm just all smiles, bro.
The worst timing.
You have a talent to find out the most awkward moments to just drop something when you should not have said it. I'm all about speaking your mind and then saying some off the wall stuff because God knows I say it too. But sometimes what you say should not be said, bro. And that's coming from me.
Oh, it's too funny.
It's funny because all you hear is like one moment, right? One time, I'm not gonna go into specifics or details. You said something, and then everyone was like, "Yo, no, are you serious, bro?" And then the guy who said it to was just quiet, and he was starting to get mad.
Oh man, for the life of me, I can't remember now.
Oh man.
But yeah, accountability. Yeah, be accountable for your own actions at all times. Always try to recognize the consequence. Always try to play it out. Don't be a negative Nancy to where, let's transition to being serious, right? Smooth transition there. No, but don't be a negative Nancy to where it's like, let's say, for example, you become scared to take risks, right? When you're trying to look at the consequences of your actions, don't relate it to risk taking in the sense to where you should kind of always make it seem like this is a bad investment. This is a bad idea. This is not going to work out. Don't always be a negative Nancy per se. But when it comes down to your own actions, hold yourself accountable. Think of the potential consequences that could be bad. How could this go out that I don't want it to? Play it out in your mind and then come back and think to yourself, should I still do what I was about to do?
Maybe even to add on top of that, overdo it and maybe even think,
assume the worst.
What needs to happen in order for the worst thing to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll start thinking about, meteor just crashed into Earth and all the stuff that like is super uncommon. That will not. And what I'm trying to say is,
you threw me off too,
right? It's a meteor.
It hit me right in the head.
But you start thinking like, oh shoot, I really am tripping.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or you start thinking about all this stuff that's gonna happen, which is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or at least the chances of it all happening at the same time is very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where you're like, you know what, dude, Malik, you are tripping.
Mm-hmm. But one thing to kind of like bring up another important point when it comes down to accountability. This was a bigger idea. It was actually a little bit of preparation. I was thinking about this earlier today. I was thinking about how accountability really comes down to mainly just doing what's expected of you. And it's typically not much. Most of us hold ourselves to a higher standard. And most of us should, to a degree, be aiming for perfection. But perfection, as we all know, is not necessarily something achievable. And even if you do achieve perfection here and there, guess what? We're all going to have our bad days. It's all hills and valleys, it's all ups and downs. But for the most part, accountability really comes down to just doing your job, doing your task, doing what's expected of you. More often than not, when somebody is considered someone who is not accountable, or someone who is considered, let's take it to the next degree, someone who's considered a total failure, someone who's deadbeat, typically that person, what led up to that person achieving that status or reaching that low point in their life, it's not because they tried and failed, it's because they never even tried. So when it comes down to accountability, a huge aspect is not necessarily, yo man, I tried to do my part, but I couldn't achieve what I needed to get done for you. That usually is appreciated because effort is always.
I would respect that.
Effort is always what? It's always, you can see effort, you can feel effort.
Genuine.
Effort is always tangible. That's what it is. Effort is always tangible. When I see you putting in effort on, like, let's say for example, you're doing like math homework or studying for a math test, and you're trying to solve a problem on the study guide, and for the life of you, 2 hours into it, your brain is fried and you just can't figure out the answer to this equation. More often than not, let's say for example, like a parent comes in, a brother comes in, a sister comes in, they can see that you're struggling with it, and all you've achieved is failure, right? That doesn't make you not accountable. That doesn't make you a failure. But what ends up happening is when you decide to just put the study guide aside and you don't even want to attempt it and you don't even want to put any effort and you absolutely do not try,
you just give up.
That is when you've achieved the status of being a failure. That's when you've achieved the status of not being accountable. But otherwise, effort is the main thing. Keep trying. Keep going. Failures are going to happen.
And yeah, it's normal for us from time to time to overshoot, right? To bite way a bigger bite than we can actually chew. Oh, I got this. Yeah, don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. And then you're like, oh shoot, I got all these other responsibilities that I need to do. I actually can't. I just gave my word, right? Like it happens from time to time, right? But okay, accountability of basically like getting it done, but then also accountability of just owning up to it as well. Going up to the person and be like, hey, look, I know I said I could. I really apologize, but I actually can't. Instead of saying yes, waiting till the last minute when the actual person needs it, and when the person comes up to you, be like, yo, where's so-and-so? Why isn't it done? You're like, oh, I forgot to tell you.
Or it's like, oh, because this person, oh, I had this to do, oh,
and
I
then
had
you just
that to do.
lay out the list of just excuses and this and that and my dog and my this, and the person will be heated.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you just nipped it in the butt right then and there when you realize that you can't fully, give it 100%. You can't even complete the task that you said that you could from the beginning. That gives the other person enough time to look for other people. Yeah. Find a solution to his problem. So it's accountability is huge. All I'm thinking about right now is just business. Yeah. Right? It's like if I tell you, if I request something and it's all just related specifically to your duties as an employee, if you tell me yes, that's it. I don't want to pester you. I don't want to micromanage you. I don't want to be that guy to constantly text you and call you, hey, where you at? Hey, what's up with that? Hey, give me an update. Hey, what's up with this? Because eventually you're going to hate me. And you'll be like, this guy's so freaking annoying. Get a life. I don't want to be that guy. I think no one really wants to be that guy or that person. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, like, if you can't do something, own up to it. If you can do something, own it.
Or even if you genuinely just, something's allocated to you as a responsibility or something, that you're expected to get done, and you actually fail at it, no matter what that failure looks like, no matter what the reason behind it, owning up to that as well is more respected than creating justifications and excuses and pointing the finger. I definitely been in that position way too many times where I was just like, yeah, I can take care of it. I can take care of it. Next thing you know, it's like, why did I tackle on all these responsibilities? I can't get any of it done. It reminds me of the day when we had to drop off 2 cars at LAX and then wait for my brother's car
Oh,
and then somehow get back, pick up 3 cars, and then take it to a photo shoot in downtown. So that was one of those days that I really had to tell myself, bro, like there's no honor in claiming you have responsibilities.
mm-hmm.
There's no honor in it if you're not gonna get any of it done. By the time it was like 3:30, all we had done in our day was drop off 2 cars and pick up a third. What are you acting like you're so important for? You know what I mean? Next thing you know, we're in flipping peak traffic, and we got to get these cars.
The guy's calling you.
The guy's blowing up my phone. I got to call up a whole bunch of other people now who have no idea what the situation is. Why? Because I left it all in my head. I'm like, no, I'm going to take care of everything.
Yeah, you're the man.
Why?
Yeah.
The hell did I do all that for? And so, subhanAllah, alhamdulillah, somehow that day overall was a success.
It was. I had a lot of fun.
It was a success, and we managed to actually get it done. But it wasn't until I literally had to tell myself, oh snap, I messed up. I can't get all this done by myself. And then you were in the car with me, luckily, and you were like, all right, who else can we call? And right at like the height of me just completely wanting to rip my hair out, I was like, all right, who else can we call? And then boom, just start phone call after phone call. This person can, this person can, this person can, this person. And then boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, hour and a half later, everything was done.
Yep.
Everything was done.
It's a beautiful moment.
It was actually really dope. I actually wanted to text him today. I want to figure out if that music video was developed yet or not, dude.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about it.
I want to see it so bad. Man, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I feel like such an important point that I wanted to bring up. It's just the whole idea of like failure doesn't necessarily occur until you stop trying, right? We've heard that in many different forms, right? But being accountable starts with constantly putting the effort in, no matter what that effort looks like. Just trying. At the end of the day, if you can look back at your day and say, hey, you know what, today was actually productive, then by all means, it was nice, it was productive, you can sleep well, you can sleep comfortable, knowing that you put in effort. But when those days go by and 2 hours went to this, 3 hours went to that, oh, I ate, I took a nap, I blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you sit back, you look back at your day and you go, wow, I got absolutely nothing done today. This is what my life has come to. Like, I've absolutely achieved nothing today. Then know that you will probably have a negative consequence for your actions. You need to hold yourself accountable better.
Yep.
And once again, it's kind of not being in denial, being vulnerable with yourself to know, to admit, I could have done better. To admit, hey, I'm not working hard enough.
Do better.
Do better. Put in a harder effort. Actually go out and try. Because failure only results, once again, failure only results once you stop trying.
Mm-hmm. Think about it. If we just completely quit on everything in our life, how far would we be? What's life without trying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the effort. What's life without it? Taking a risk, having the possibility and all those like negative thoughts of failing, of making a complete embarrassment of yourself. That's a pretty high possibility, but we still made it on the moon. We still done underwater railways or subways, whatever you want to call it, those train systems.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is that we still did it. We faced failure as humans, meaning we, but that pushed us. Many of us, the most successful people, were once thought about, you're stupid, you're dumb. Can't believe you thought about that. They made a couple billions. Now the whole world's like, you're a freaking genius. I feel like there's a fine line between genius and insanity, right? Besides the whole like definition of insanity, but just being crazy and just being a genius. I feel like the main correlation, though, the similarity is effort. Effort will get you to that point of clarity. Whether you know that you can accomplish a goal, that clarity, or that you're like, I can't. And you give yourself a good enough reason why. But at the end of the day, effort is taking that risk is just all we have in this life, man. It's whether it's talking to a certain someone, just whether it's talking to a girl, right, that you're interested in marriage or whatever it is, right? Whether it's talking to a particular person to pick their brain about their business, so you can learn a little bit more. Whether it's this or that, anything. Whether it's prospecting clients and just sending that DM or making that phone call, that cold call to that one person that has no clue who the heck you are, and they still don't care about who you are at the end of that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like they just wanna hang up the phone, but you're just going in on it. And I know we're kind of going a little bit more of like a tangent off the whole accountability thing,
Mhm.
but it's that whole example of what you gave was very important.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what kind of struck all these chords of me, like my little tangent I just went on.
Yeah. No, it was good. I feel like there was something I wanted to touch on. Solid. Pretty good stuff. Did you get it all off your chest?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go square up with?
Nah. I
No,
always
we're
say
chilling.
I always say I will, but I never do.
That's a good. That's good. That's for a separate conversation that you and I need to have.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's off air. But
Absolutely.
talking
Man.
about off air, I feel like I had a lot of fun.
Sign us off, baby.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this concludes it for episode number 4. It's kind of crazy to even think that we've gone this far. But at the end of the day, this is only just the beginning. So, guys, stay tuned for another exciting episode. Episode 5 is going to be coming up soon. And just have to wait and see what we're going to be talking about.
Oof. Absolutely. This has been the King of Average podcast with your boy BB, and
Medic.
thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.